Hello, welcome to Cinema Savvy. We are back with our final spoiler discussion on The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. If it's even called that now, we'll get into the title change at the very end because a lot of stuff happened this episode. And as I mentioned, this is going to be spoiler-filled discussion. We're going to go through absolutely everything, and not just this, but also the future of Captain America as well, which has been confirmed and has been announced now. So it's moving in very interesting territory. This is, of course, the final episode, episode 6, One World, One People. But before we go into the episode, just over to George with the socials.
Absolutely, guys. We want you to comment along with us today. It's been a day since this aired. Now, we are a bit late. We're doing this on Saturday afternoon, so you've had more time to watch this, and we've very luckily had time to learn about Captain America news. So comment all your thoughts, not just on the episode, on the series, on the future of... It's so weird calling it the Falcon. I've put up on social media, we'll just hashtag Captain America because he's Captain America. Let's get that out of the way. But if you like our videos, if you want to find out what is next, hit us up on our socials, which is Facebook at Cinema Savvy, Twitter at cinema_savvy, letterboxd.com/Cinema Savvy, and we have a link to our TeePublic store in the description below, as well as details of the Oscar predictions giveaway. The Oscars are, of course, tomorrow night, Monday morning, however you want to call it. We're going to be live, as we always are, for our watch along. We'll all be watching it at home. We'll be giving a sort of commentary on the event. We'll be discussing films, anything in between, anything we think of. It's always one of those shows where we've got 3 hours of time to fill. So there'll be many discussions along the way. But that being said, we are, of course, talking the finale of Falcon and Winter Soldier. And I'm going to jump into this really quickly, not to go too far into the future, but I was fully embraced to have a conversation yesterday thinking, so are we going to be talking about season 2, or are they going to retitle it? And no. Thanks to those online, we now know that there's going to be Captain America 4, so we'll discuss that at the end. But at least that stops the whole season 2 conversation. I guess the conversation will be what you're going to call it. Can't call it Captain America and the Winter Soldier because we've already had Captain America, the Winter Soldier. So that's for Marvel to sort out on their own. But very quickly, we might as well start off where the whole thing began, with the opening scene and the reveal of Falcon's... Sorry, it's so hard to call him Captain America. I fully embrace him as Captain America, but I think because there's a word Falcon above my head, I keep looking up and seeing it. But what do you make of the new incredible Captain America suit?
Well, yeah, because we were debating last week, weren't we? I thought they were going to give... Because I don't know the comic books. I didn't know that he had like a white and blue costume in the comic books. Hell, I didn't even know Falcon was Captain America until very late after Endgame. So I thought they were going to go with like a black suit, and it was going to be this like new stylish take on Captain America. I like the suit. I don't like the first shot that we get of the suit because it felt like it was trying to play it off as this big dramatic moment in the episode. I do want to say right off the bat, by the way, my initial opinions on this finale. I am split down the middle with it. There is a lot about it that I absolutely love and think it was handled perfectly. But there's also a good chunk of it which I didn't really care for, but I'll go into it later. And I think because at the end of the last episode, he opens the case, but we don't see what's inside. I think that maybe the opening shot that we get of him in the costume would have been better had we have just seen the outfit laid out in the case at the end of last episode. I think it was, I don't know if it was a question of lighting, whether it was framing, whether it was shot choice. It just looked like a very underwhelming reveal. And, the music's like playing the fanfare and it's meant to be this big moment. And I kind of almost laughed at it. It just looked really cheap, I guess is the way that I can say. As the episode went on and, the thumbnail from the video where he's flying and he's throwing the shield as he's flying, it looks fantastic in action, but it was just that first shot. And I can't quite put my finger on it, but it didn't sit right with me.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar. I think it was like a Red Room type thing, that there was this like red lighting everywhere. And when he came through the window, I was like, oh, because I think you got a great little build. You could see the wings. I was like, aha, he's got his wings still. And I was like, okay, they're going to do this big rush. I don't know why I kept thinking Batman Begins. Like it was going to be like, the scene in the with all the containers.
What
when
are
like
you?
one yeah, I was like, I didn't know if we're going to get some incredible 5-minute build up to seeing the Falcon, because we know that Marvel has done that in the past to some characters and whatnot. Yeah, he kind of flew from there. I was like, yeah, that looks cool. It looks okay. It looks a bit weird because we're in a red room. I don't know if that was meant to be a big thing, but yeah, right. When the episode went along, when they went outside, they got out the reds. It looks phenomenal. The thumbnail photo, we need it in high res. We need it in 4K. That's going to be... We always say when we go to red carpets, there's always a defining... like everyone's got the same autograph photo. Anthony Mackie will be signing that photo for the rest of his days because it looks stunning.
You said it was one of your favorite shots in the MCU full stop, didn't you? Yeah.
It's the way it kind of, in the 3D hype that always like slow down a shot of something being thrown. It felt like you needed a bit of Zack Snyder slow-mo on that because it looked amazing, and you could tell that was something they wanted to frame so well. And all the wing stuff with him, it just looks amazing. That's the whole costume from the wings to the body and all of that. But that first scene with the Red Room, I kept thinking of Tenet. It's just meant to be like alarm bells ringing, and it was really strange because the whole episode, except the last 20 minutes, it felt like a scene, didn't it? We were trying to discuss a plan before we were doing this. I was like, it all kind of just flows naturally, which I guess is a compliment that you sort of basically get a solid 35-minute stretch. But the suit stuff is the main thing for me. I don't even know where to jump on from that. We're not going to go for like, oh, there was a car chase, there was this, there was that. Bar the Falcon, the best Falcon stuff was probably actually at the end. The stuff with Josiah Bradley, the stuff with the speech. So we'll save that for a little bit later. But the reveal of the suit was weird, but we both love the suit. I'm going to pass over to you because I guess the first big thing to happen was your favorite character.
Finally dying. Thank Christ. So this is where I'm completely split down the middle on this thing, because you mentioned Isaiah there. So this goes throughout the whole series as well. The whole passing of the mantle and Falcon discovering his identity and stepping up of and the qualities of what it takes to become Captain America and to be Captain America, to wield the shield, the significance of that shield, what it means, and how it can mean something totally different depending on the owner who has the shield. I think how they handled all that stuff was perfect, and I still think it's perfect in this one, and it set us up very nicely for moving forward. But and we kind of look at this as, yes, this is going to be like a episode 6 discussion, but also it's kind of like looking at now we've got the complete story. We can kind of look back and see the season as a whole. This has got a villain problem for me from beginning to end. Now, it was great to see Zemo back. We will be talking about Zemo later. I didn't feel like he had a massive significance in the series, at least not what I expected it from the trailers and knowing that he was returning. And the Flag Smashers. I feel like a broken record now. Every single week I've been harping on the character of Carly and the actress. I'm sure she's a lovely human being, but by God, at least in this, she's not a great actress at all. And it kind of amounted in this episode because this is the big inciting incident. This is the epic action finale. This is what Falcon and Winter Soldier and Wyatt Russell, what's his name? John Walker. They're all going after her for some reason, because it's this big culminating event. And so much of this episode is dedicated to this action scene and stopping her and the Flag Smashers and all the events going on around it pertaining to them. And I just didn't care at all. I didn't care about the stakes. I didn't care about the villains. I didn't care what the heroes were trying to do. And that's what really lets the air out of this episode for me and the finale as a whole, in that I just didn't buy her as the leader of this organization. I didn't think that they had much of an impact as antagonists in the series. And because of that, I think that, how they built up the hero side of things, what they did with Winter Soldier and what they did with Falcon, the two people in the name, perfect. Like, you couldn't have handled that better. But you also got to be as good as your villain. And Marvel has had a villain problem many, many times. And I thought with it being a TV series, they could go into it more. When we got the glimpse of them at the end of episode 1, I was really intrigued by them. This kind of V for Vendetta secret society thing. I was really intrigued by the concept. And then as it got into it, I just didn't care. So I was grateful to see her character definitively die. Let's hopefully it stays that way. I know it's Marvel, so there is a chance that they could bring her back. She is a super soldier, but she was just awful. She had in this role, you needed someone with charisma and personality. In the scenes where she's just been so outacted by Wyatt Russell, and he's given it everything he's got with the short amount of material that he has to work with in this finale episode. When she's, Anthony Mackie, anyone that she talks to, they're just acting rings around her, and every line delivery is the same, and there's no emotion. I just don't buy her as the villain ultimately, and I think that is a massive negative for this finale, is that so much of it is dedicated to that part of the storyline. Yeah,
and I think we spoke last week, and I mentioned that we'll get to him properly in a bit. I was like, oh yeah, this whole series has been making John Walker the villain genius, and we have to get to that because we don't really know. Status unknown if he's hero or villain. So we'll have a conversation in it. But I was honestly surprised. I think it felt like phase 1 and 2 Marvel villain. Like, we always said that in origin stories, Marvel so well at building up the hero that they'd always sacrifice the villain angle, and they hit a streak. I'd say from Vulture through
phase
to
3, isn't it?
Thanos. Yeah, phase 3, they really started to home in on those villains, getting them done well. And this felt like those sort of early days Marvel again, that they did an unbelievable job with Anthony Mackie, getting him into the role. Now knowing that we can call him Captain America, and rightfully Captain America, not you giving a shield at the end of Endgame. Here's a solo film. This whole series is such an interesting piece, which we'll get to in a bit, but there's definitely a villain problem. And as well, the way the villain goes out as well, getting killed by an even more boring
She's just
villain.
shot, isn't she? She just
just like shot like 3 times, like, I am the power broker, and like, I didn't ask, I don't care.
Why didn't you? If it was that easy, why didn't you do that before? You've had loads of opportunity just to shoot her, and here we are in the finale, finally doing it. It's just
because it's. I thought I'm not going to sit and say what could have should have happened, but when you had that episode where Zemo shot a point blank range, I was like, oh, she's gone. Zemo's going to take the throne. He didn't, which is fine. I'm fine with how they handled him, but when she just got like randomly shot by Sharon Carter, Power Broker, Agent 13, whatever further nicknames they're going to keep giving her, I was kind of like, okay, like, we know you're the Power Broker, we know you're going to be a thing now. We'll get to that also in a bit, but I didn't really care. Like, I didn't care about the villain too much, but then to get killed by someone you care even less about was a bit of a weird way. That I love the moment of Anthony Mackie, and this is where I'm kind of see where you come from. The Anthony Mackie stuff was great. When they're scenes together, Anthony Mackie was really well, and it's meant to be a villain where they share the same sort of ideologies, but they do it differently, and it's that traditional villain. And I thought Anthony Mackie's side of that stuff was great, but I don't think they wrote that particularly well on her side of it. We're kind of similar but doing things differently, and I never really got to grips with that. And I don't think it's now I've seen the finale, to sort of, you mentioned it before here, but sort of like a guardian angel with the wings bringing the body down. It just
Beautiful
didn't feel
shot. Beautiful, amazing
really
shot.
Good shot.
One of the best in the episode. But yeah, it's like, how much more significance would that have had if you'd have actually have cared and sort of saw where the villain was coming from and have sympathy and have emotion for the villain when they die,
Yeah, and I think it's just a missed opportunity. But
this might have been a bit cliche, but I'm now thinking back, there seems to be a lot of threads that didn't really filter into all that much. So I'm wondering how this finale would have gone if it would have been cliche, I guess, if Zemo had have taken over. Let's say he killed her when he shot her point blank. Because there were those moments as well where he was sort of, it's like the master of whispers, like Varys, where he was speaking to the kids, and it seemed like he was trying to get into their heads, like, I shall be the new leader, I'll lead you. If Zemo was the big villain for the finale, I think, you would have had that more of that attachment to the character because you've seen him in Civil War, you've seen him throughout this, and I think that because even now at the end of it, we'll talk about Zemo later, he does like one thing from afar. We don't know where that's going to lead to. But if he'd have been more proactive as the main overarching antagonist, and by God, get him in that mask one more time for the finale, I feel like that would have been perhaps a bit more cliche, like, oh, of course, Zemo's going to be the ultimate bad guy. But it even feels like that was a storyline which never really went anywhere. Yeah,
and I think the Zemo stuff, I'm not going to sit here and say this could happen because it's been less than a day, but could they be wanting to use him again for a film? Maybe we'll discuss that in a bit later on, but yeah, I didn't feel anything when Carly died, and even less so that it was the Power Broker that did it. If it had been that kind of, I know it's also a cliche that I know you hate it when Superman has to kill Zod, like they don't want to, but the situation means they have to. I think even that would have meant more, even if I didn't like the character massively, that would have done so much more for Anthony Mackie's character. And again, Captain America wouldn't kill someone in cold blood, which I think is the purpose of it potentially. But yeah, that's looking like that is one of the weak points of the series, and it is very much that old school Marvel terrain. So I'm hoping it's better because even WandaVision, it's sort of slips came in right in the end with the whole villain angle as well. So no idea what to expect from Loki. Me being absolutely honest, don't have the faintest idea what to expect from Loki, but maybe that will work better. I don't know, but
I don't know if that's. I'm guessing it's based vaguely on some kind of comic book storyline. They wouldn't have just invented all the characters out of whole cloth. But there's elements of Falcon being Captain America that I'm vaguely aware of, and even WandaVision. I wasn't aware at the start, but when people said like House of M, Mephisto, Agatha, and everything, you could read into it and go, oh, okay, I can kind of see what this is trying to do in the storylines this is based off. I don't know if that's the case with Loki. I don't know if they've just taken Tom Hiddleston and gone, we're just going to have like a fun, wacky adventure with the character of Loki.
I think it's what it feels like. I think me and you keep joking. It's going to, saving the world via a different alternate timeline, Doctor 2.
Yeah.
We'll know that in June. I'll be down for it because I used to love Doctor 2 until it turned to absolute shite in 2010 onwards. But sorry, Doctor 2 fans, I really don't care. And I give every new Doctor a couple of episodes and it just does nothing for me. Really quick question. While we're talking about Carly, we've got a comment from Carl. Do you think Carly is dead when Sam handed over the Doctor seems to work on it? Yeah, I think she's dead. I think there's a lost cause, and if she's not dead, she's a terrorist that's going to prison. So
that's true.
Maybe they'll put her in the raft of Zemo, and they'll have someone else he wants to kill in his spare time. So I didn't actually clock that. I was going to watch it again today, but I didn't because there's a couple of other things to do. But I'll keep an eye on it. I probably will rewatch this series. I don't have many. I don't want to rewatch WandaVision. Maybe I will before Doctor Strange, but this one I think I'd like to see again because I think this is far more powerful. And speaking of some of that stuff, let's bring up to me Anthony Mackie aside. Wyatt Russell has been the best thing in this show after Anthony Mackie. Country mile better. Yeah. Love Sebastian Stan, but we'll get to him in a bit. But oh wow, John Walker. I thought those bastards that when he rocked up and he had a new shield, and I was like, here we go again. He still thinks he's Captain America. And I know that the race has been a big part of this series. You know, you can never have a black Captain America, said so many times. And that moment when he grabs the car and he is trying to bring the car back, I was like, oh my fucking God. They're going to do a face turn, wrestling terms. I was like, they're going to turn him face and they're going to redeclare him Captain America, aren't they? And thank God for the incredible joke they can carry on of him being a shit Captain America where he gets jumped by 5 people and falls off the skyscraper with them all. I absolutely love what I think he's phenomenal in this, but I think we need to talk about this art because I don't know how I feel. I love him, the actor. I love the performance of how he's done this, and I certainly want to see more from him in Marvel. And we get that scene at the end where he's now in black. He's now fully US agent. Is he a hero or a villain? Because I don't now know.
I think he's very much an anti-hero, and I don't know much about the character. I guess the final reveal at the end where we leave his character off is he becomes the new superhero, I guess, US agent, I think his name is. I checked that the costume that he's in is right off the comic book, so I'm already immediately in love with the new costume. Did someone say he's like, it's almost like the Avengers, but a bit sort of like the more near the mark ones? They're a bit more violent, perhaps. They're sort of like secret covert operations or something. I've just seen the comment. I've immediately gone onto Google Images.
You don't know Harry Kane is, unfortunately, I do.
He actually does. That's amazing. Okay, that's threw me off a little bit. I've loved Wyatt Russell this whole series. I think he's easily been one of the best. Actually, no, I'd go so far as to say he's probably been the best thing for me this whole series. I've loved where his character was going. I felt like the finale just dropped the ball on him, though. They set him up the last episode for a really interesting way to carry him on, like he was hell-bent on vengeance for the death of his friend. He wanted to go after Carly. He built a new Captain America shield. And I just felt like they didn't know what to do with him in this final episode. He was completely overshadowed by everything else. And then pretty much for the last half of the episode, he's just standing next to Bucky. Even Bucky, I felt, didn't really have much to do in the grand scheme of things in this episode. And that's fine that you're framing, Anthony Mackie as the new Captain America. That kind of needs to be at the forefront, but the title is "And the Winter Soldier." And with exception to like the final couple of scenes of the Winter Soldier where he finishes, crossing everything out of his book, I didn't feel like they really had much to do with him either. So it's a real shame because I would have liked to change with Wyatt Russell. I didn't want to see him as like this revengeful character from beginning to end. He definitely needed that change. I actually would have loved to have seen him complete the car lift because I thought that was a really awesome character moment for him. But then when he fell off and then Anthony Mackie came in and kind of overshadowed him, I was just like, you could have had a great moment there. And that could have been your moment where, he snaps out of revenge and gives and distances himself from that part of himself and actually saves people and be's the Captain America that he always wanted to be in some way. But I just felt like it was a wasted opportunity. He really did nothing. There's a small little skirmish at the beginning, which is really short, maybe just a couple of seconds, and then we're off doing something else. So it's a shame because I thought up until that point he was easily one of the best things in the series, but it just felt like they didn't stick the landing with him in this episode.
It was weird because I'm sitting there thinking the one thing I dislike now is last week when they had him lie to Lamar's family. I think if you take away that lie moment, his character arc is complete. that he overstepped a boundary. He went too far once. That cost him everything, and he's this very much this. I may have failed everyone once, but I've been failed by the country I represent. And there's something about that line last week that's really annoying me. That he I know, because that's when I was like, he's going to be the main villain. He's going to be this, and he wasn't. When he does that polite sort of tap on the back to Bucky, which I really liked. And I don't know if he was seeing a bit of Lamar in him or something, but you mentioned again, it's like when he comes face to face with Aaron Kellyman, and it reminded me of that, the Thanos meme we say all the time. And it's like the way he screams like Lamar wasn't a nobody. Like, it's so funny. Yeah, and like it's so funny because I love him and I think his performance has been unbelievable. But he's just this kind of, he is Harry Kane, Carl. Like, he's an absolute moron. Chris, you don't. I'm not gonna obviously take the piss out of some of Harry Kane's features, but Carl knows exactly what I mean. That being said, it just depends what they do with him in the future. Like, because I'm all down for him being US agent. It's an interesting take, but it's like, what are you going to do with him? That is he going to be this? Because he's not going to get a series. He's not a leading man. As polite as that sounds, I really like White Russ in this, but he couldn't lead a series. He couldn't lead a film. Maybe someone's going to prove me wrong. I would hate for him just to turn up and be a villain in Captain America film. Is he going to be part of this Shadow Avengers, or is he going to be a supporting guy that pops up in a couple of films? I could see that, but at the moment, he's a really fascinating character, and they've clearly got a plan for him that we yet don't know. So maybe that's praise, but I think if you look at him compared to sort of the up meme at the end of episode 1, compared to where we've got him now, it's in a really interesting place. And I never thought I'd come out of the series saying I can't wait to see him come back. But here we are, 6 episodes in, and I'm all for it. So very, very curious. And I think tying that in, but the whole Julia Louis-Dreyfus stuff as well, that we know she's going to be a big thing for the next couple of films, that she's a fantastic actress. And there's an interview that popped up from last week, which I didn't speak about, where in 2019, or even before that, she was doing an interview for Veep, and she made a joke saying, I could never do Marvel. Can you imagine me on all those strings, superheroes are flying around? They reckon she'd already been cast and doing stuff, and it was because it's so not unexpected, but because she's been sort of, they call it the Seinfeld curse, where for years in the Seinfeld cast could be anything but their characters. And when Veep came along, she got another show she dominated for so long with Award season and whatnot. It's amazing seeing her doing something like Marvel, because there is a place for her, but I really hope that she's not, I don't think she'll be this, a Thanos kind at all. But if she's going to be a kind of like evil Nick Fury that we see pop up in a couple of films, or she's got a history we can learn about, I'm very curious to see her plan, because she's obviously planning something. And maybe the big threat for the next phase will be like a villainous Avengers team, because we haven't really had that. I know that sounds really stupid, but we've not really had the opposite of a team fighting a team yet by Civil War. And I'm curious to see what they're planning on doing with her, what they're doing with US Agent, and what their plans. But one final thing I want to add about Wyatt Russell, I love the fact that when we were saying last week that he was sort of welding in, I don't know if it was his medals or Lamar's medals, I love the fact it was facing him, that was him getting that push, was looking into that war medal. And that's a great scene. I'm glad he didn't lift the truck. I think if he lifted the truck, it would have took it away from Falcon. It was very much there. It's like a polite passing of the torch when there wasn't really a torch to pass, was there? It was kind of like, like, John, you're in the mud. This is Sam's Captain America now. And I thought that moment was handled really well with him, because it was a kind of redemption. It just wasn't a completed redemption. So I don't know what to expect. But either way, he's been a standout for me.
Yeah, I'm the same, because what's her name again? Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. We don't really know where her allegiances lie yet, do we? She's a very mysterious character. I think we've only had her in like about 2 scenes maybe, and we don't know if she's quite a villain, if she's like another faction of S.H.I.E.L.D. in some way. I know they disbanded, but like those same kind of people. Is she working with people we know? She seems like she's very much working for her own agenda. So going with like that villainous Avengers thing, I think that is in the comic books. I think someone mentioned it. I don't know if you mentioned it on an earlier stream, like from one of the other episodes, or if someone else has mentioned it to me, but I think there is in the comic books, and it's like an evil, or like a kind of shady Avengers kind of group of people. I guess it's like the Suicide Squad, really, isn't it? She's very much like this Amanda Waller kind of figure, where she's inherently on the good side, but she goes about it in quite like an underhanded and dodgy in the shadows kind of way. And then you've got this sort of I hate using the phrase ragtag, but that's always like the phrase that everyone uses, all these kind of like disparate heroes going off doing their own thing. So the fact that they're keeping Wyatt Russell around is all good for me. And we mentioned this before we went live, that when all these shows were announced, we were panicking a little bit, thinking like, are we going to be able to keep track of them all? And we were kind of hoping they wouldn't tie in directly to the films, where you'd have to watch this series before watching one of the feature films. And that still might be the case, like when they do eventually roll around to Captain America 4, maybe you'll get all the information you need from like the opening scene, which will kind of truncate everything that happened in this series from that beginning scene. And then people just watching the films, they'd have that end of Endgame where the shield's passed to him. People will just know that the mantle's been passed to him, and they can jump straight into that film, and they won't need this connective tissue. But now that they've gone and like announced a Captain America 4 with Anthony Mackie as Captain America, this cements it for me that, you are kind of going to have to watch all of these Disney Plus TV shows to really get the most out of this this universe that they're continuing.
Yeah, it's fascinating because it's such early days. But obviously we don't know what Marvel's plan is. Whether Kevin Feige is directly telling everyone to watch every show, then the film, show, then film, or the series going to be this sort of additional. It can really help you if you see this film, but it's not compulsory. So I'm really curious. Because obviously, I guess Doctor Strange is the first one, isn't it? Mm-hmm. If Wanda's just going to be a villain, or if she's just going to be there and be fully like Scarlet Witch, I'm curious as to the significance of WandaVision, because of course it helps. We've seen it. We loved it. It was really incredible. So week to week, I think WandaVision had far more for it than this. I will say that. Just that was more the theory, the insanity, and just the concept. But what I'm very curious for is how are they going to make the film cater? So it's kind of like the Infinity Stones, right? If you've rocked up to Infinity War without seeing any other Marvel film, it's not going to help. But at least they're going to explain to you what an Infinity Stone is in the opening scene. Whereas if you're going to get a new Captain America film, could the Falcon just be Captain America straight away? Like, will the people need to know he's gone from Falcon to Captain America? Do they need to have seen the series? Or will it very much be treated as a handover from, he was given the shield at the end of Endgame, and people that didn't see the series might go and watch the new film. So I guess it depends on how, I reckon they'll be the first two. Obviously, we don't know a year the film's been dated, or if it could be the end of I would bet on this being the end of Phase 4. The Falcon Winter Soldier film. Sorry, that's not horrible. I keep saying because it's above me. Captain America 4. Bet you it will come after Fantastic Four, and it'll be the last one to close out Phase 4. That's why.
And then you can move into like your new Avengers films and stuff with him being the lead.
Exactly. So we're a long way away, and it is all speculation. But I'm still the same as last year. It can get too much because we're 2 shows in. It's going to be when it heats up, when we've got She-Hulk, when we've got Marvel, when we've got... I mean, I don't think Hawkeye is going to focus on things too much. That's going to be more for Kate Bishop. But I'm very curious to see what Marvel's long-term strategy is for getting the films into TV into film, vice versa. So at the moment, I think they're 2 for 2 in terms of when that next film pops up, everyone's going to be like, this show was incredible. I'm so happy to see him go on the screen. And I know we're kind of jumping to the end, but it's what I said last week. It would look really bad if they had a Captain America series. Big up, we're getting a Black Captain America, then didn't give him a film. And I'm so glad it's took one day that we didn't even need to have the conversation. Will they give him a film? It's done. So full credit. We'll get into that a little bit more in a bit, but let's talk Bucky. Because I'm the same as you. Winter Soldier very much shares the title, but this to me is definitively Falcon series. I see this far more as a Captain America origin film than I do for Bucky. They brought back my favorite part from episode 1, which was his neighbor in one of the more emotional moments. But I don't think he had an awful lot to do in this. But it's to me that confirmation of that he's still a likable character. He's the right hand man, and we've had some development. He basically gets an Alfred from Dark Knight speech at the end of the film. Like the way this series ended, it could be the speech from Into the Dark Knight, and have everyone going their separate ways. And Bucky's arc's tied up, but I wouldn't say there was even too much of an arc in absolute truth. It felt like a natural progression for the character.
Yeah, it was a nice bookend. I think still overall of the whole series, I think I've said this pretty much consecutively as we've had every episode. Episode 1's easily my favorite of this series so far, from that opening action scene and just how we got so much, character, like in-depth character stuff for both of them, and it felt balanced. I think episode 1 definitely felt the most balanced, and then obviously the story kicks in and you've got to go in all different directions. I understand that, but that first episode definitely felt like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I loved all the stuff they were doing with him. In the, they've defeated this big force that was Thanos, but then after that, it's kind of like Wanda in that way, that once the dust settles, literally, they've got to sort of come to terms with their own emotions and sort of pick up the pieces and move on in terms of their own, psychology and everything, and loss that they've had. But I love that he was, crossing names off and making amends. And I do like how he came back to that one guy, because we did see little bits of other events and other missions that you were on, but I like how it focused on that one. So you could really get the emotion of just that one singular moment. And obviously in his book, he's got hundreds of moments probably like that and people like that. But I like how it focused on that one, because he was such a nice guy as well, like the old guy who he was with. And it just helps you build that human connection with him. And the fact that he went back there, I do like the fact that he completed the book and he sort of completed his mission. Now I'm excited to see what they're going to do with Winter Soldier after this now, because not only with this, but the flashback that we got where, they banished that Winter Soldier part of him and, he was back to being James Buchanan Barnes again. This is like that definitive end for his character where, it's a wiping of the slate clean, and now we can move into new territory with him. And even kind of with Anthony Mackie as well, it's like, okay, he is Captain America now. Now let's see what they can do with him. So this is kind of this like last half of the discussion that we're going to have pretty much from this point onwards is the stuff that I absolutely loved from this finale and this series overall. And that the quality of the writing there and the maturity of that writing is fantastic. And I don't think they could have handled it any better.
Yeah, the bookie stuff was great. And I saw a really good post online yesterday saying, should they call the next one Captain America and the White Wolf? I would say no to that. It's great. It sounds great, but the white... I love the fact that they've synonymously got rid of the Winter Soldier. In theory, that's a Rakuten. I think the breakaway scene for me was with his neighbor. It was like, your son was murdered by the Winter Soldier, and that was me. I love the fact he didn't say I'm the Winter Soldier, and he's like, bye. And it's like it was that he had to own it up, and we don't know the outcome of their relationship, because when he saw the girl in the bar, his back was turned. So I'm not going to say I need a serious bookie and the old man repairing things, but I like that ambiguity with it. That
didn't she look up at him? Didn't she kind of give him like a nod kind of thing, like it's okay?
Yeah, but we don't know what the old man thought, because that was the girl he'd been on the date with. So I'd be really curious to see. Well, not see, but I like how they tie the arc of that. If he'd have turned around and sort of slapped him, get out of my room, that'd be a bit harsh. And if he'd have befriended him, that's also a bit harsh. So leaving that sort of neutral balance, I think, works really well. But the fact he had completed the book with the great scene with Zemo last week, which felt like in the bookie's arc, where he says, I've done you the favor of crossing my own name off the list. And the way he sort of left the note for the therapist as well, it was the completed book. I thought it was really well done. But I always say I like to see more of him. I think Sebastian sounds solid in these films, and not to speculate, could the next one be called? Could the film also be called Captain America's Howling Commandos? Could he revert back to being a right-hand man? Probably not, because they're stuck to World War II. But the bookie stuff, I thought, because there wasn't so much of it, there wasn't as much to tie up compared to Anthony Mackie. And another character, actually, before we get to him, actually, let's talk Zemo. Because even Zemo has a kind of character wrapped up. His one goal was to kill all the super soldiers, make sure there are none left. And we got a good old school Godfather car bomb, which I didn't see coming at all. The whole one world, one planet, whatever they call it again. And I was like, it's the secret Hail Hydra code. I was like, okay, oh God, here we go. They're going to keep a couple of super soldiers alive for them to hunt down in season 2. I was like, I really don't want to do this. And then the car bomb went off, and I was like, thank you. Not because I don't care, but I really don't care. But I was like, let's not have any arcs tied up. Let's not leave things open for more shows and whatnot. Obviously, there is something set up as every Marvel film, but I'd have hated the idea, like at the end of like Batman Begins, there's still one, but there's a load of Arkham citizens out there still at the end of Batman Begins, but I'd have hated them to say there's still 7 Flag Smashers left. No, thank you. Let's get them out, get rid of them. They've had their series, and let's go all out now for what else is going to happen. Obviously, we know it's going to be a film, so the Bucky stuff, the Zemo stuff. Zemo didn't have as much to do, but we know he's in the raft, and I'm curious to know if he'll just stay there forever, or good luck breaking on that prison that's on a water island in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's like Azkaban a little bit, isn't it? It's just this Alcatraz kind of island in the middle of nowhere. I guess it's a handy place to sort of like, if even if they don't know what they're doing with their characters yet, if they don't know what they're doing with Zemo as a character, I'm sure they do, because I'm sure they're probably on phase 10 right now or something, even as we speak. It's ridiculous. But it's a very handy place to leave a villain. It's kind of like Loki, how it seems like every time that you see Loki, he's being apprehended or put in some kind of jail somewhere, and it's, he's there. We can leave him there until we need to bring him back into the story. I do wonder if when they come to do this Captain America 4 film, if Zemo would be the main bad guy in it again. I always love seeing Daniel Bruhl. I think the character of Zemo is fantastic. As I mentioned, I would have liked to have seen Zemo do a little bit more. I guess he did achieve his task, but it felt like that task was quite small scale from what I expected it would be from the trailers. I'd love seeing him back in the film, but I'd kind of want it to move in a different direction. Let me see a different villain for a change. But at least they've got him in the back pocket where they can, bring him out as and when they need.
Yeah, I know this sounds horrible. Obviously, he's still a villain. I wouldn't want him to be the villain in the next Captain America film, just because he seems to have built up this relationship with Sam and James. Right, this really annoys me. I hate the way he says James, because I love Rush so much. So the way he'd pronounce James for James Hunt and that, and he does it the same in this. So I always get excited when he says James. And also, I want him to be a Bond villain, and it's naturally a German person saying James in a villainous manner. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, is he going to pop up? I'd be very interested to see their plan. We know if they're going to put together a bad Avengers team, he'd want a tactical genius, right? Or would he not care? Because he always says he never cares about the superhero petty squabble. So I honestly don't know. I don't know. But we need to see that coat again. As you said, we want to see the mask on. But they've left him in an interesting place where, we know where he is, and we know he's had a moment. I guess we can say we got one final gift from him this year with the new smiling meme. He's had the dance, which has changed the internet, and he's now with a smiling gif as well. So I'm all down for Daniel Bruhl, but I wouldn't want him to be brought back for the sake of it.
Yeah,
it felt natural to maybe book his character arc more than anything to be in this one. But we also know, I'd say logically a Wakanda series, but we also know that his issue wasn't the Wakandans either; it was the superhero angle of it. So I really don't know, because when you got a really good villain, you don't want them to overuse him, aka Loki, who has been overused to the point he's getting his own series. I'm not asking for a Zemo show.
Yeah, no, exactly the same. I think we should move. Should we move on to the next thing? I think this was like, this tugged on the heartstrings the most for us, and once again, as I mentioned, perfectly handled. Isaiah Bradley's character, beautiful closure to his character, and a real commentary. Like even before as well, like one of the big pivotal moments, which I guess leads into this, is Captain America's final speech when he's on the news cameras. I thought it was a great ending speech from Anthony Mackie. I could have done without one of the lines, and it goes over to the civilians, and it goes like, "That's Black Falcon. No, that's Captain America." It's like, I could have done without that, because you get that from the theme as well. I thought that was a little bit too on the nose, and I thought other than that line there, that quick little exchange, they handled it with like a real maturity, and the significance of that as well, having a Black Captain America now. This wasn't me, but I know a few people actually that probably came out of Endgame going like, "Oh, what is he going to be Captain America now?" And they were being really arsy about it. I was just saying from like a tactical standpoint, I always keep mentioning this, like, how can he have the wings and a shield? Like, surely that should go to Bucky. But this series has just done an astounding job of just, I think, convincing the world now that yes, he is Captain America, and we're ready to move on. So I think this is an integral series. I think it's a really important series, and I love the commentary that they've had on race, and especially within America and current political ideologies and everything. I think that that's always going to be a prevalent thing in America, and the significance of that. And I thought that final image of him being Captain America and going back to Isaiah as well. As soon as we were introduced to Isaiah in like episode 2, we kept saying we want to see more and more of him, and he's such an interesting character, and you learn about his backstory. But seeing that, and the actor as well who plays him, when he gets that emotional reaction to seeing that statue where he's going to be forever immortalized and remembered now, throughout history. I thought that was a beautiful way to tie the character up.
Yeah, I'll get into that, because that was one of my favorite moments of the entire thing. But the speech before the cameras was great, because I was worried that you'd get the whole, "Oh, you can't be Captain America" from the government people. But I'm glad even they didn't dismiss it, that they knew that this was natural. And I thought that was really well done. And this is where it kind of goes to that flag smasher problem, that they had the same ideology but executed so differently, and not just in terms of the writing of the episode, but I guess in the Marvel universe as well. And I liked everything that Falcons were, and you watched that and he felt like Captain America. It felt like a speech done by sort of Captain America. I keep thinking I'm going to say Steve Rogers, but it's not. And I think that scene worked so well, and I'm all here for it. And I think what really did help with that moment was even getting Isaiah Bradley's reaction on watching it at home on the TV before we got that scene with him, and what a way to. And then I think when you've got Bucky sort of patting him on the shoulders at the end, it's like sort of Captain America reunited with the Winter Soldier again. So I thought it's such a phenomenal scene, and the Isaiah Bradley stuff was, I'm not gonna lie, I had tears in my eyes watching that yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't think, I know this sounds really horrible, and especially I can't really give that honest viewpoint because I'm not black, but Marvel hasn't hit people with powerful moments with race. Obviously, I can't talk from experience, and I think that moment there isn't just one of the most powerful moments I've seen, but that's probably Marvel's most powerful moment. Obviously, Black Panther was incredible, and it did so much in terms of cultural origins, everything like that. But a hard-hitting moment, the Isaiah Bradley stuff, was such a fascinating commentary on that. And it was the way that scene was sold, and it wasn't like we're going to have this big unveiling and having hundreds and thousands of people attend a press conference to say that this guy was Captain America. It was the moment you get back to that Washington Monument, and I thought it was just so well done. It was so played off, and I know his grandson is in line for something in the comics. I can't remember specifically what that was, but I believe he's been in 3 scenes, and they're probably the best 3 scenes of the entire series. And that's not a criticism of the show. That is nothing but a compliment to the writing and performances with him. So I'm so happy that got the right character. I can also, adding on to that, I love the fact that the Museum of Captain America has become such a big thing in the Marvel shows.
I want to go to that museum. Like, if they turn that into a real museum, I am there. Like, it's so
That's
cool.
the thing. Like, when I don't know if Disneyland are going to do a Marvel Land at some point, but you need like the museum, and I'm all for it. But I think that scene was earned so well and more, and it was just perfect, and it was powerful. And I think, sorry, what I did forget to say is what Anthony Mackie says, that there'll be millions of people that don't see him as Captain America, and I can't change that. I know people are going to hate me for it. I thought they were ballsy to put that line in. That was absolutely the right thing to do. I can say that everyone dislikes him as Captain America as racist. We know that all the racists would dislike him.
Yeah.
But also it's the fact there will be normal people that only see Steve Rogers as Captain America, which is why Russell White got a load of undeserved hate. But you can't really watch that and disagree in absolute truth. But I sort of leading into the next thing, I am all for a Captain America 4 with Anthony Mackie, and soon as well. No, we'll visit it in 5-6 years. This is quite clearly, we could have announced this back in December, but we didn't. I believe they've got the writers of the show involved. They haven't said any directors yet, so it might not be the same director, but the writer from this show will be writing the film, and I am here for it. I'm not even going to start doing speculation of who I want to see direct a film like that. I would say that there should be a black director in the same way they've done that for Black Panther. They should very much look at someone that can take that script when the script is made and be able to direct that, because I think that'd be important rather than have another, I'm not calling white people studio hack, but we end up with another sort of, they always get this person to direct superhero films, that kind of thing. And I'm kind of like, you need to get the representation right on this. The same way they did do it with Black Panther. I really want to see them do this with the Captain America film. So I am going to be immediately hyped for that. I think that's probably on the spot, after Doctor Strange and Spider-Man 3, my most anticipated Phase 4 film over Fantastic Four in absolute truth. That'll be very high, but I'd say this Captain America film I want to see more than anything but Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man's only there for Tobey Maguire anyway, let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was an important conversation to have, and I do think it was very necessary. What I'll be interested in to see if this finale and this moment, that image of him as Captain America, is going to have the impact with that the intended audience, because it'll be interesting to see the viewing figures for this, because I'm wondering, I mean, this was a huge moment where he becomes Captain America. I love the moment at the end as well where it comes up with the final title and the Falcon switches to Captain America. I was like, that was almost like an applaud worthy moment, like we've made it. I think it would have been really cool had they, how when we got to the end of Mandalorian season 2 and you had the tease for the Book of Boba, it's like, oh, by the way, there's another Star Wars series coming out in December. If after like the main bit of the credits it says like I don't know, like Anthony Mackie will return in Captain America, like if they did the announcement in that way, similar to how they do the films, I don't know if that would have worked, but I thought that would have been a cool reveal if they'd have done something like that. I am totally down for more Captain America. I've always said Captain America is my favorite character, and now I guess I can kind of say he's my favorite sort of icon, I guess is probably a better word now, how it's like the mantle passed down from person to person. So yeah, just give me more Captain America movies. I love Anthony Mackie in the role, and he's really proven himself that he can be. And the thing is as well, he's not trying to, and this was the whole antithesis of the series, he's not trying to be a carbon copy of Steve Rogers' Captain America. He has that uniqueness, he has brought his own personality to that character while still supporting the same morals and everything that Steve Rogers did. So absolutely. I don't know who I want from the villain. As I mentioned, I don't know much about the lore of Captain America. I know that this series went into it a lot more with US Agent, Isaiah Bradley, and a lot of the other supporting characters. So I guarantee we're going to get, oh God, what's the name of the actress? Dreyfus. What's the name again?
Yeah, Julia Louis Dreyfus.
Guarantee we're probably going to have like the motley crew of the actors that we had in this series come back for it. But I'm more curious to see that, because this was a massive moment where he became Captain America. Would that have gone over better if that had been saved for a film and you kind of had that origin story in a film format, so you could have that huge cinematic moment that more people could talk about? Because I haven't really seen many people talking about this moment just yet. Maybe it's early days and maybe people still haven't watched it yet, but it seems like it's a huge, big cultural moment that we now have a black Captain America in the MCU, and I just haven't seen many people talking about it yet.
Twitter's been, from when I was on Twitter yesterday morning, it was going well to the point it was already spoiled before most people had seen it, which we know is often the case with social media. But actually, speaking of people talking, I actually had a really good thing I was just projecting in. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Nielsen streaming chart. It's this America thing where they're able to statistically work out the most streamed shows. It's really fascinating. It's still in its early stages, but they're always like a month behind. So what they're saying here, the first 2 episodes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, this week this news came out, the first 2 episodes had as many minutes streamed as the final 2 WandaVision episodes. So obviously over the next month we'll see that sort of popularity, and it's third on the chart. But what it does, above it is Criminal Minds and NCIS, which both have like 300 plus episodes. So the 2 episodes in the Falcon and Winter Soldier is almost their equivalent of 300. Says everything you need to know about how big it's been. So I've seen nothing but praise for the reveal. The finale, as you said, has come with some criticism. A lot of people saying they're not sure if it landed. The John Walkers have had a lot of stud stuff online, as is the Carly and the Power Broker things, but I don't think any 2 people are in disagreement really over the Anthony Mackie stuff. I'd be curious to know people's thoughts and their justification. Not saying it's wrong to disagree, but if you can delve more than them saying Captain America can't be black. Brings me to a great Twitter thing I saw last week. It's not great, it's ridiculous, but some moron in America was saying that, quote, they don't need a black Captain America because they have the Iron Patriots. The reply got hundreds of thousands of likes from whoever did it, but that says everything you need to know about the absolute morons that do use the internet.
It's like we're only allowed 1 token black guy in the Avengers, and that's it. Like, what?
And it's like supporting role from Iron Man 3 that then got rebranded to War Machine, and it's like, and also he wasn't called Captain America, he was called Iron Patriot. But that says, again, it's just morons on Twitter, but there are many of them. But I've not seen anything bad about yesterday, which has been good so far from that reveal. I'd be very curious for the film, because I think films obviously garner a different reaction. There'll be people that haven't seen this show that will no doubt check it out when a film gets announced or when the film is out. So I'd be curious in that sense. But kind of moving into a final thought with it all, I'm going to kind of say I thought the finale was decent. I think it's probably the I don't know, 3rd best episode maybe after 5-1 and then this maybe I'd say. Or 4, I can't remember. I'd need to have a think. But what I would say, this series has been solid. I feel there's been consistency in it. It feels consistent from episode 1 through to episode 6. The writing, when there's been characters that aren't well written, they've kind of stayed like that all along. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. You could just say it's consistent, but I think this is sort of a solid Marvel production. I don't think it's had the wow factor that WandaVision did, the week-to-week scrambling for knowledge, and this is really them doing something so different, so out there, nothing we've seen before. That's what WandaVision had for me, and whereas this one is, to me, like back in those old school Marvel characters, this was I said this yesterday, it's an origin story for me. This is the origin of Sam as Captain America, and I thought, as far as origins go, it was very solid, one of the more powerful Marvel productions, but it does have its issues. And sort of, I'm not that I'm going to rank it now. We've got a ranking MCU video going up in a couple of hours' time, but
which I'll be watching. I'm very curious to find out what's number one myself.
This would sort of sit in that, to me, like the halfway point in the MCU films. Like, sort of, there's so many now, isn't there? It's really hard. It sounds horrible saying it's halfway through when you enjoy them all, but we don't really do stars. But for me, this is like a solid 4-star thing.
Mm-hmm. If you'd have asked me after episode 1, I'd have said this was just, this was shaping up to be absolute perfection. Like, you couldn't do it any better. As it stands now we've had all 6 and you can review it as a whole thing. I'm totally split down the middle on it because the good stuff in it is phenomenally good. And you couldn't ask for it to be written any better. The themes, basically just that passing of the mantle of Captain America and that the origin stories you mentioned, handled absolutely perfectly. I couldn't have wished for it to be handled any better than it was. As it stands, a big half of the series is the flag smasher stuff and the villain stuff, and I do think that really does let the series down as a whole. I think that is the whole drama, that's the whole epic climax, and I just didn't get any of those emotions from it at all. I love my favorite stuff from the series has been the more sort of like quieter character-driven moments, the stuff where it really goes into the character, the flashbacks to Bucky, the Isaiah Bradley stuff, the sort of more intimate, closed off character moments. And when it gets to the action, it's fine. It's fine, but I just didn't care about the situation. And if you don't care about what's going on, and especially the finale where it all leads to, that's such a big part of it. So really, Carly and the Flag Smashers is my biggest criticism. And then I guess I have to kind of also offer this as a criticism. Wyatt Russell as John Walker, loved that character, but to me, it just went absolutely nowhere in the final episode. So it's really awkward to look back on because a lot of the stuff surrounding his character has been the highest highs of the show. Even now, that image of him with like the blood on the shield, brilliant ending. And I loved all the bits where Lamar died and he goes to the parents' house. Loved all that stuff, played brilliantly, but his character just went nowhere for me at the end. Maybe his character can go places now. He is probably going to be returning in other ways, but if I'm just looking at this as overall, I'm totally split down the middle of it. I love where it ends. I love where it's, teeing us up for moving ahead with the next Captain America film. The fact that, they did convince everyone that, yes, the Falcon can be Captain America. Loved all of that, but there is that big chunk. And even Zemo as well. I was really underwhelmed with what they did with Zemo. I felt like they could have done a lot more with him, especially from those trailers that he was coming back and in the classic comic book costume. So I feel like they dropped a ball on a lot of stuff with it, but the stuff that is good is fantastically good. So whereas WandaVision, I was like, that was consistently entertaining. It was making me question it week to week, and I love where it ended. The finale did have it, a few flubs along the way, but overall, I think WandaVision was probably more of a consistent series that I enjoyed the most as a whole. But also, I don't think that some of the elements in the writing with this, I don't think that WandaVision went as mature with the writing as it did with this series in respect. So that's my very safe on the fence answer for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It's a complicated one. It's complicated.
Yeah. I'm going to bring this by Carl, which is probably actually a really good point. It needed the 6 hours to tell Sam's story. Couldn't be done in the time frame of a movie. I would agree with that. I don't think you could have done that in 2 hours. Not the Isaiah Bradley stuff, not that the weight of the shield, sort of learning about Captain America as a figurehead, as an icon, having the failed Captain America, all of that. It needed the TV series, I think, absolutely. And I'd say 6 episodes was right for it. I think it's just that villain side of it was really the problem. But yeah, aside from that, that's been another Marvel series done.
One done and dusted, yeah.
Yeah, there's one more finishing tonight in a 3 hours time at the time looking at the clock, and that's one to check out. But obviously, Marvel's not going anytime soon. We've got the Loki series, we've got Black Widow, the Eternals, Spider-Man, What If, Shang-Chi, the trailer for. We've had Hawkeye. That's just the rest of 2021, guys. Marvel's not going anytime soon. It's going to be interesting seeing these shows. How they, I think, are you going to eventually start ranking shows against one another, or all the shows going to connect? Yeah. Questions we'll eventually have, but what we want to know from you is your thoughts on Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Let us know your thoughts on this series as a whole. Go into all spoiler details, what you liked, what you didn't like. Maybe let us know where it would rank upon your favourites. So hit that like button, do comment, share, and subscribe. And if you like Marvel, do come back to the channel in a couple of hours' time. We're calling it a definitive ranking list because there's 10 people giving their lists, and that makes it definitive in our perspective. So have a check of that if you do like Marvel stuff. What we also want to hear from you is obviously we're going to start teasing what else is coming up. So we do, of course, have the Oscars live stream coming up. That is going to be tomorrow night / Monday morning. We have more details of that. Chris, I believe you and Tate are doing a video tomorrow. If you want to talk about that as well.
Yep. So tomorrow midday, me and Tate, we did this last year. We tried it out last year, where instead of offering you, was it like 5 or 6? I think it's 5 films that have been nominated for Best Animation. We're just going to combine it all into one video. We're going to be talking about all of the individual films. I was actually surprised to discover that we don't have an Onward review on the channel. So we will have an Onward review tomorrow as part of the discussion. Me and Tate just going to go through all the movies, chat about them, what we think is going to win. So yeah, midday tomorrow, and then we're probably both going to be grabbing a nap, and then we'll be jumping on in the early hours of the morning for the main Oscars live stream. But it's going to be a good one. 6th annual Oscars live stream. It's gone ridiculously quick, but I think it'll be a good one tomorrow night.
Definitely. So everyone do check that out. And if you want to find out more videos, because there's a couple of announcements we need to do over the next few weeks. We're going to obviously we've had 3 big things ending this weekend. So obviously there's new stuff on the way. More details will be on our socials, which is Facebook, Cinema Savvy, Twitter at cinema_savvy, letterbox.com/cinemasavvy. And we have a link to TeePublic in that description below. I guess I'm more than happy to say this. James Bond reviews are starting Tuesday. It's not a big reveal now. It's said in the rankings later. It will be said on the stream tomorrow, but that's the next big thing for the series. We've got 2 episodes this week. One on Tuesday, one on Friday. Then it's going to be weekly, leading up all the way for another way. No Time to Die. It's been so long of delays. I keep forgetting the title of it now. But if you like James Bond, this is the place to be, because, as you said, we've gone from hyping up Marvel for like 4 months straight to now not having any Marvel videos for 7 weeks. So we've got so many videos on the way. And even as Chris said, we had a Mortal Kombat video yesterday. Chris did his first time watch along. So if you like Mortal Kombat, the games, check out that watch along when you get to watch the film. You can use a VPN to watch it on HBO Max over in the States, because it's not got a UK release date at the moment, which is ridiculous. However, I once again going to thank everybody for watching at home, for commenting with us as usual, letting us know your thoughts on the series. And I guess if you're only around for Marvel, we shall see you on June 11th with Loki. Thanks for watching.